I just watched the first hour-long, for some reason, episode of live-action One Piece, and it is a trash fire. It embodies everything wrong with every live-action adaptation. It misses the appeal and purpose of its inspiration on every possible level. So I guess let's talk about that. To start with, there are the character designs. Oda's art is remarkably cartoonish in the original work, and it's reflected in the anime. The characters squash and stretch constantly, their emotions are vibrantly shown through over-the-top expressions, and every body type on display is extremely exaggerated. One Piece is a distinctive, lively, unmistakable work of stylish craftsmanship. The live-action adaptation, unsurprisingly, does nothing to translate these visual aspects. It was impossible to do that to begin with. There are no real people as wide as Alvida, or any simple props to make anyone appear that wide. No one's body type actually looks like Axe-Hand Morgan's either. What is most concerning, though, is that Netflix's One Piece doesn't even try. It seems downright ashamed of the source material's cartoonish nature. It desperately wants to convince its audience that this isn't a super goofy surreal adventure. No, this is an actual serious show that you serious American audiences can take more seriously. It's embarrassingly transparent. You can also see this desperate pandering through the dead boring acting and lack of fanciful fight scenes or creative choreography. In the manga and anime, Luffy's powers are demonstrated in immediately engaging and highly imaginative ways right out of the gate, but it's so subdued here that you'd be forgiven for thinking he's a relatively normal guy who just happens to deflect bullets and wiggle around sometimes. The action in general was more styled after American superhero cinema than its proper shonen roots, foregoing the build-up and drama in favor of action figures just smacking each other around senselessly. And that's not even the worst because, again, like every other live-action adaptation, Netflix's One Piece completely misunderstands the character motivations and subtexts of the original art. Kobe may as well not exist in this version. I'm not sure why they bothered to include him. His entire character arc was about him fighting for his agency and his difficulties escaping abusive power structures, but that's only present here in the Netflix adaptation in the most superficial fashion. Nami is completely out of character, sticking around for fight scenes she has no business participating in, solely because it's more dramatic. In general, everyone is dumber, because they're being forced to participate in plot developments and read dialogue completely out of context from its original framing. Every creative decision here is for the worse. They removed any semblance of threat that Morgan might have presented. Luffy's behaviors are completely different, turning him into a muted, generic protagonist. Zoro's passion has now been replaced with dollar store stoicism. Basically, it's just completely miserable, and it reeks of corporate gentrification. Almost every uniquely Japanese aspect of the original work has been whittled down to a lifeless parody of its former self. The original creator's apparent involvement does nothing to mitigate the damage, and in fact may exacerbate it. I'm not sure if we're now meant to applaud people for shilling their life's work to exploitative streaming services, but I'm certainly not clapping.